Thank you everyone for coming here. Today is especially exciting because it's going to be new work and linking that with feminine values and then giving it an embodiment twist or spicing it up with some embodiment. Our speakers are Carolin Fürst from The Future Living, as well as Moradian, who is a movement artist and has an MA in embodiment. She'll tell us a little bit more about that later. And for now, a warm welcome to all of us. We are super pleased that you're coming here on a Tuesday evening and giving us your precious time. The process, for those of you who haven't attended one of our Ring of Alchemists yet, what we are going to do is Carolin will give a short introduction to her stance on new work and feminine values. Then Moradian will give us a mini introduction to embodiment and take us through an embodiment exercise. Each part will be around 15 minutes. And then what this group is about, we will go through something which we call the WISH process. It's a mental contrasting technique that we developed, which starts with creating a vision, a bigger vision, and starting to intuit this vision. So how is it going to feel when we're in this vision? And then progressing with looking at the stumbling blocks, because that's actually something which is promising in terms of results, is starting with the vision and then pairing it with the stumbling blocks, things that could hinder us to create what ifs. And then the last part is going through strategizing, which we call the how. So VISH stands for VISH. Before we now delve into it, Anna is going to give us a little intro about FindingSustainia, what we do, why we do it, and what our future plans are. And yeah, I think I've said everything. So Anna, Abi, and me, we are super excited for this and trying to play around with concepts and creating intersectionality, because all of it is related. Sustainability as well as taking care of ourselves are subjects that are often regarded as separate subjects, but they are so interlinked. And okay, so now I'll hand over the mic to Anna and a warm welcome.
Yeah, hello from my side as well. I'm very happy to see you here, and some of you might know FindingSustainia from our older times, our German times, and I will not talk much about this because since the middle of last year, we decided to go international and to really make FindingSustainia a movement for the whole world. And what we think is important is that within our world, we need strong personalities and thought leaders and change agents, and we want to create an ecosystem for these to engage, to mingle, and to create something, co-create something. And this is what we are starting with the Ring of Alchemist, but we have a lot of different formats for it. And yeah, we're happy to have you as our pioneers because we are only starting this. We prepared a lot. We set up larger teams than we've been before. Before it was only Shanta and me. Now we have a larger team. And what we are planning to do with FindingSustainia is to create an ecosystem where we invite thought leaders to explain about their ideas in the format Shanta just explained. So to really talk about the vision, talk about how it feels to have this world we want to have, and then to look at the stumbling blocks, and then to look at what do we need to make it happen. And we believe this is a very strong methodology to really make it happen and co-create it together. And the ecosystem you will see in the slides, which I will send around, and it shows that we will have e-learnings, and we will have a podcast and a magazine and different workshop formats and community formats where we could very well interact with different people from different disciplines and different contexts, and we believe that this is a very powerful instrument for future change.
Our intention is to give great ideas and great personalities a bigger stage to these mini formats, but also giving those who are interested in a new subject you've just discovered the opportunity to also dive more deeply. So, for instance, with Anne and Carolin, we are also in the progress of developing e-learnings on these subjects and also finding the intersection. So what we are trying is also to take certain subjects out of bubbles and interlink them. But now, let's just start. Or Anna, is there anything else you want to add, or Abhinav?
Yeah, I would like to add that we're really looking for these thought leaders. So whenever you know a person, or you are a person, I'm pretty sure some of you are the persons we are looking for, who are like to share some ideas, some visions, we invite you to get in touch and to let us know about these people. We want to really give a bigger stage in the ecosystem of FindingSustainia. So
for today, we have chosen a very interesting subject. Last week, for those of you who, last month, for those of you who attended, we spoke on frugal innovation. So a better world through the lens of frugal innovation. Abhinav, who's also here today, was our workshop facilitator. It was a really amazing experience. And today we are looking at new work. What is different from last time is that we're doing it in a dialogue format, and I have the pleasure and honor to interview Carolin and Anne. New work is not completely my line of expertise, but I always love to learn new things. So Carolin, when you speak about new work and feminine values, what do you mean by saying that the future is feminine? I mean, that's a statement that started to get me thinking, but at first I couldn't quite make the link, and I'd love to hear from you what you mean by that. What are feminine values and what are masculine values?
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Shanta. And I want to share my screen. So yeah. The future, I say, why is the future more feminine? It has to be more feminine because our blind spot has been kind of not looking at feminine issues, feminine spheres throughout the last, let's just call it 200 years. And this is why I wrote, has capitalism a gender? And in terms of our kind of worldview, we are living in a capitalistic system, and there has been an ecofeminism statement about that, which is very and pretty simple. And as it's rolled out here, if we look at the feminine aspect of being is the self as being, the self as just containing itself. Which is a concept we are hardly thinking about anymore, in terms of art. Maybe if a picture just talks to you just because of its existence, it's just there and it's containing something, it has a content you can relate to or decipher, but it's just there, like a flower. When you see a flower, it's just there. And the opposite of the feminine is the masculine, and that's the doing, that's the ego doing something. And it's the secondary process. If you have something that's being, the opposite is of doing something with it. And the doing is always the escaping. The doing is also the drive. And the doing is, I will take the flower and transform it into something else, but just taking away the being. And this is a very philosophical thought I want you to start with, because this is what has kind of made our society what we are right now in terms of how we handle our communities, how we handle our workflows, how we handle that what we call economy. And you always have to look at this side. If you are a human being, you're living in a community, and you have to make decisions on acting, on working on something. And this is what our culture is. This is why we have work and the drive of the work, and you stay in male view is hierarchy and saying my ego, this is it, and this is the way we're doing it. And the culture, every culture is basically just a communication or a kind of referral between the masculine and the feminine. And the way we have been treating our culture has been very, very male. And we developed a lot of stereotypes we have to look at. For example, and it's written right out, and everybody knows stereotype feminine adjectives like being humble or being emotional, being devoted, being helpful. And every one of us knows male stereotypes, being strong, being brave, being a born leader, being active. But also each and every one of us knows that we both represent feminine and masculine aspects in ourselves, and we can be both. Just, as it is, it's just a stereotype, and it's not what we are. But that's the cultural bias we are all living in. And here I made you a big picture of what it means, what feminism or new work has to do with feminism, and why this will be leading our future. And it's very, very important when we see industrialization as a means of female aspects of culture losing value, because this is what we did. We kind of like pushed down these community aspects, and we made it more and more dependent on the culture, the male drive of organization, of industrialization, of capitalism, of stock market. And the feminine aspect, which at one point was a community as a village, more or less, then we have had cities, and the feminine aspect has been secluded in being a housewife, in the sense, and then trying to hold things together. And even families broke up. This is what we're struggling right now in the crisis. And modern society didn't have an elder, or a grandmother giving wisdom. But nowadays you go to your shrink, and in the future, this kind of wisdom, which was essentially a female wisdom, is turned into an AI, an artificial intelligence that tells you when to get up, or tells you what to do, or gives you advice. And what we've been seeing also globally now, that we are all struggling with this kind of loss of feminine energy and the dominance of male energy, this top-down hierarchy, and the classic, the classic economic model, which always has to be scalable and made for profit. And what we're seeing right now, and also what I want to talk about, the new work we are doing at the Future Living, we are trying to change the narrative, and we want to be working from the bottom up and really talking to the people and empowering the people again, so that people can have an holistic approach to themselves and to the culture, and tending to the culture. And it's before that it was kind of that quantity management. Now it's more like a quality management, which we wanted to create. And we've seen this. We've seen that economic growth kind of leads us into a dystopia. And I also want to chip in that we are still living in a historical rape culture, where the free appropriation of everything in nature, is kind of a given for mankind. We can take everything like it belongs to us. And we have been developing this process so far that we're now living in the Anthropocene. I mean, there's more material made by humans than made by nature, which is still for me mind-blowing. But there are chances now in this also pandemic we are living through now, in this, let's call it downsizing of our nature. This is what has been happening. And the disruption we have now, again, from technology, the modern tech world allows us to change this narrative we kind of get stuck in again. And the future, hopefully, will be a culture of diversity, equity, collaboration, and cyclical growth, and culture which is more organized, self-organized in spheres. This is the huge kind of flow we are in right now. And the future is feminine, the feminine economy, the soft skills, all these are things that suddenly everybody's paying attention to. I mean, there are tons of coaches now who have to have trainings on how can we be a real team? How can we really organize ourselves better? How can we work better together? How is this possible? And I want to chip in that also the SDGs are a feminine aspect now. The economy, more or less, or the global sphere is bringing in to help us survive. So what does it mean? Very concrete, because I'm working at the Future Living, and we are a self-organized team, I'd say. We're agile, we are hybrid. For us to work together, it's at this point about 10 people, fluctuating up, fluctuating down. As a tech startup, yes, this is a normal situation. And the most important point was, how do we work together if there are kind of loose ends everywhere? If we don't have a building, an office, if we don't have, if we're living in different parts of continents, how can we work together, and how can we work together so that we can still have efficient time for deep work, and efficient time for interesting new projects, and in general, what does it mean if we're not meeting in the kitchen, for a small coffee in between? And it has been a very, very interesting journey also for me, and for everybody who wants to establish maybe a more fluent work style. It really pays off to develop a code of conduct together, because this is kind of the future. And it's not that you just have writing, from the CEO, oh, this is the way, these are our rules, and this is how we work. I can show it to you. We developed a code of conduct within a month with the help of an outside coach. And we have been really, really working hard in kind of like breakout groups to find the way we want to work each other, and also to agree on that. So, and the basic way, what it made it possible is that we had five topics that needed to be kind of checked. We needed to have a space where we work together, where it's safe for us psychologically to work. And also everybody working at the Future Living has meaning, or sees meaning in what we are doing. And we also agree that we would like to work efficiently. It has to be effective what we are doing. And each of us has to be reliable. And each of us is working on changing the structure and finding more clarity in general. And this probably is what Anne is also trying to talk about. This always goes for asking questions: who are you? Who I am? What can I be? How can I be my best self? And how can I incorporate these words into my being? And for this, we have different ways of trying to incorporate all this. As you can see, it's always a mindful cooperation. We all run under free will. Nobody's forced to do anything at the Future Living. It's a personal decision if you want to work on that topic. So it's completely up to a team member saying, count me in. I can do something, or I would like to do this. So it's a personal decision on every topic. If somebody wants to be on or off, and the same, we always try to establish a team framework to explore biases, because they happen. We also have them, and we have regular check-ins on this, reflecting our current roles. For example, right now I'm still the head of branding, and I'm kind of like happy when I can give this away. So it was a ride all the way through, and there's space for me to talk about that as well. If I would feel that I need anything, I could ask for personal coaching, which is something I think it's not normal for asking your superior to get help because you think you are lacking something. For us as a group, being all over the place, we have one ritual which is always there. It's our Monday morning meeting. We always do this. It's still voluntary, but it really feels good to be part of it because it makes us feel connected. As well as every team, we have team events, but we also do hybrid cooking, for example, or we have online gaming. We had a project where we explored different formats for university students as well. And what's nevertheless very important is when you are all the time online and there are bings and clicks and little sounds, every 5 minutes, we also made space for deep work where we actually meet online, tell each other what we are doing, if some of us needs help, and then dive into and do whatever we need to do. And usually we're trying to eat the frog first. This has been very effective for us. As well, we have changing roles and strategy and the way where we are heading is always a team decision. This is also very important. So there are certain strategic meetings, for example, coming up. And this is never just the decision of one person, but the whole team is informed and will be incorporated. So what am I saying is there is no other way than going feminine in any way or reason. It doesn't make any other sense but paying attention to certain values we haven't been paying attention to beforehand. And even as Forbes says, establishing agile teams in hierarchical structures is essential for the big changes lying ahead of us in the future. And with this, I would like to close.
Thank you so much, Carolin, for this very insightful presentation. The word that keeps on coming to me is duality, or bringing together the poles, because we often equal productivity with being kind of, as you described it, in masculine energy, but both works together. And but what is important also are the practices that you just showed us, because actually what happens is when you started, then my brain is all full and I'm just wondering how I'll get there. And that very classically can lead to some kind of freezes in all of us, because I think all of us want to be in a work environment that feels benevolent, where we feel we can thrive and where we also have results, but getting there isn't so easy. And for this, always find it super interesting of finding a way coming back to the body, because that's actually a very important and underrated intuitive tool. And for this, later we'll also send out some material of papers that Anne wrote. She has an MA on embodiment. I never thought you could have an MA, and before I didn't even know embodiment existed. Only a few years this term came to my sphere, because I've been doing my own work, because mindfulness is very interesting. So I owe a lot to mindfulness, but I never looked at these knots in my throat, in my belly, or all kinds of more primal reactions I had in my daily life. And so, Anne, I'd love you to give us a little intro on what embodiment is, what your work is about, and maybe that makes it even more interesting. Take us through a little embodiment experience so we really feel what it is. And later, there'll be an opportunity for a few questions for Anne and Carolin. So, yeah, let's dive in, Anne.
Okay, super. So hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here with you on Zoom once again, right? So that's why embodiment is a useful tool to bring with us, just so we can remember we're still alive and not a thought or an image or an idea. So my master's is actually in movement. So I consider myself a movement artist. The term embodiment is an interesting term because everybody is embodied. This is obvious when you think about it. We're all embodied. It's really, when we talk about the word embodiment, it's a catch-all phrase that helps us, look at and identify what kind of relationship, do we have within ourselves, and how are we dealing with the information that we can access through the body. So, and a lot of our history has us essentially negating a lot of that information. And you can blame that on Descartes, but it goes back much, much further. So, it's not really fair. He was trying to do a good thing at the same time too. So it's like, he gets a really hard rap, even though, yes, thinking that, I think, and therefore I am is the answer. We keep updating. So embodiment, in my perception, in my understanding, in my experience, points to being connected to the feedback system that is our body. And it's an extraordinarily complex, magnificent, it's so complicated, so complex, so interrelated. It's a perfect model of complexity, systems thinking, and everything else, because we are our bodies and we are a system comprised of other smaller yet complex systems that are comprised of yet smaller. So you could look at the organs, or you could look at, so for example, if you look at the cardiovascular system, and then within that, you can look at the organs of the heart and the lungs and the veins and the, all of this. And ultimately it comes down to cells, which are also complex, beautiful systems. The one thing I think that's really interesting that I'd like to share with you today is, in my research, one thing, it's using terminology very specifically. So it's looking at cognition, which has multiple terms depending on who's talking about it. So cognition, how I'm looking at or defining it, is using Umberto Maturana's definition. And he and Francisco Varela were looking at cognition as inherent in any living organism, as small as a cell, so beginning from a cell. And they identify it as that effective action that allows that living organism to continue its existence and continue to, they say create, sort of participate in the creation of its world. So I've been using that idea of cognition. I don't know if I've been using it. What it is my relationship with my body and how I feel the information that my body allows me to take in feels very much like that. It's really simply what information is available through my body. And that is tuning into my sensorial, like all of the senses. It's tuning into the emotions. It's tuning into energy. So I'm just beginning. So I'm working with neuroscientists, and I'm just beginning to learn their language, which is very precise and very helpful. But so, for example, they distinguish between between, for example, chemical information like taste or smell, and something information, which is like sound and eyes. But we're looking at the senses. But then when you move into the inside of the body, the interoception is what they call it nowadays. You've got just this huge universe of information, which, you guys all know this. We all know this. It's a question of using that information well, I think. So one thing I think that's also important is just remembering that the body is our primary dwelling place. It's our primary, when we talk about the environment, when we talk about nature, this is it right here. This is the primary dwelling place. It is nature. It's interfacing with nature, no matter what kind of technical or man-made items you're dealing with. We're never out. It's like embodiment. We're never out of nature. We can talk about that, and that's certainly debatable how we language that as well. But having this primary dwelling place and orienting from here, from this information, knowing how you are, knowing where you are. So that's what I'd like to say in terms of language. Shanta, do you want me to move straight into the movement stuff, or do you want to where do you want to go?
I'd have two little questions. Sure. One is, how can we access more the information our body's telling us? So let's say I'm sick. So that's something then I can see as some kind of a warning. But I guess as babies, we had that innate capacity of reading what our body's telling us, like, I'm hungry, I'm afraid, I want to sleep. Whereas now we have unlearned that and need to relearn that. And that's not so easy. If I speak about my personal experience, that would be one question. And the other is also of how the way we then keep our body. So let's say in terms of posture, what I've noticed is I used to be a bit nervous before giving a talk, and working on my posture and on my breathing. So for instance, when you feel stressed or afraid, your breath gets short. Whereas if you're sad, you stop breathing sometimes. And you can change the emotional sensation through just breathing differently or having that posture. I mean, as women, we also know when we're in that dark alleyway and there's a group of guys, how our bodies instantly go into non-offensive, but also not too meek. So this is also a way we try to work with our bodies, not to appear too cocky or not too insecure. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that from your perspective, and then, of course, move straight into an embodiment experience.
Okay, all right. So how do we get better at doing that? It's practice. It's practice, because what we're doing is we're repatterning, and what we're doing is reconnecting the neural pathways through repetitive patterns of practice. So first is identifying the cycle. When do you just shut down completely? Like, for example, just check right now. This is not a judgment thing, but just check right now. Like, how are you feeling? Do you feel your body? Where do you feel your body? How's your breath? And that it's just that check-in kind of keeps us connected. But often, I can even see it sometimes, in our posture of how we get all of our energy up into the head, and it all comes forward, and the body is left behind. We're pulling out of our body, actually, to have the head like, and it's a settling into, but it requires slowing down a little bit. It requires quieting down a little bit. And the challenge with this is that the structures that we live in are asking us to, speed up, are asking us, to pay attention to something else. So there's a contradiction right now as things are shifting. So it's very challenging to do, but it just requires slowing down, feeling, and being aware. One of the resistances to this is discomfort. And that discomfort can be, something feels too good. Discomfort can be that, something is just unknown. There's all kinds of different discomforts we have. And our automatic response, I think, with discomfort is to shy away from it. And to also, I don't know about you all, but, for me, in my experience, I think historically, I used to think that discomfort was a bad thing. But actually, discomfort is just information. And it's interesting information because it can help you adjust. So basically, it really, truly is that feedback system that you tap into it and you can orient better. You can adjust. But there's so much in education. I'm sorry, I talk a little bit too much. There's so much in education that teaches us not to. All right, I teach rebels and I teach artists, okay? Because basically,
powerful and so beautiful.
What it is I teach people to be awake, but what that means is sometimes you can't always cooperate with what's requested of you. So then you need to modify or converse or reject. And that's a challenging situation to be in. In certain situations, we don't have that freedom. So it's tricky. How do we honor our own felt needs and still participate in our world in a way that works? And at the same time, our challenge is, in addition to that, how do we also begin to transform our world so it works better? So it's all of that all at the same time. Yeah.
If I may talk about a hack that I found to see whether there's discomfort, because I used to not always feel that discomfort, because at some point in time, my body just felt it's better for me to not feel these things, is that my eating habits change, or I somehow feel I should skip my yoga practice. And these are exactly in those moments where I need them more. So it's for some people it's munching or urges to smoke or whatever that can actually lead us to understanding, okay, something is a little bit different. So that could also be a path to actually identify discomfort.
Yeah. I think actually you're exactly right, Shanta, that constantly observing our patterns, so the internal patterns that we have, but also those interrelational patterns with whatever in our world we find. Absolutely, yeah. So your second question was about posture?
Exactly.
Okay.
How we can how we can actually work with breath and movement to counterbalance states like fear, kind of standing up, or wear that superhero costume. I recommend it.
Yeah. I think, so my answer might not be the same as other people's answers. And I think all answers are useful because we're so different that what I say might not apply for some of you. And for some of you, it might be just the thing. I mean, who knows? And you have your own and you invent your own as well. I find that using and this is the physical mechanical structure of the body. So we are mechanical, organic, chemical, like we're multiple things, not just mechanical, but we do have a mechanical structure of our bones and our musculoskeletal system. So aligning that, so we can do this right now. So where you are, we can just do it seated, it's okay. So you just get your sit bones kind of planted, so you feel where the bottom of your bum is. Okay, and then from here, just see how you're feeling for a second. You can just lengthen the back of your neck and lower your gaze to help feel a little bit more. And just feel, where does it feel a little heavy, a little hot, a little tired, a little burning, a little uncomfortable. Okay, and then from there, just see if you can lengthen the neck. So you're creating space between the vertebrae and the neck. Soften the front of the ribs just a little bit and then push down into your sit bones just a bit. So imagine like a plant. So you've got roots going down through your sit bones deep into the ground, And out through the top of your head, out the hair, you've got leaves moving upward. So, and you can use whatever imagery works for you, but as you create that length, you're creating space for your organs. Okay, and for me, I utilize an image of a plumb line, which is the line of gravity that falls through my body, through your body, through any body, from the center of the crown of the head. So go ahead and just touch that here for yourself, right where you just kind of, right on the top. Yeah, so right top center. Okay, so from that top center of the head, through the sit bones to the center of the earth, feel for the line. You can move yourself around a little bit here. You can move a little forward, back. You can drop a shoulder. Just feel around and then come back when you're ready to that length where you feel like a pendulum that's still from the crown of the head down. So this would be your plumb line. So what I do to feel at ease and strong as much of the time as possible is I feel from my plumb line and I let myself rest on that strength. And then I bring my breath into that. And that's really, then I don't have to think too much about fixing this or fixing that. I have the integrity of myself that I can stand in that on the earth. I'm not taking up any extra space. It's just, this is my space. I'm given this. I don't have a choice about it. I'm going to own it. And that's really how I approach just that aspect, to just feel easy as much as possible. Okay, so bringing breath into this, if you just take a breath in here and then drop your chin down to your chest and then take a minute and just for yourself, ease out the neck, the shoulders, any way you need, and let it be micro. So rather than doing big movements, thinking I'm turning my head, I'm stretching, it's like just let yourself feel and then let your body do it. It might be micro, it might be larger, but you're just kind of following the sensation of what is the body asking for? What does it need? And this will be different for each of us, just depending on what we live through to today and what kind of body we've got. And then from here, go ahead and bring yourself back up. I'm just to share one really beautiful thought with you. In embryology, when the infant or the embryo develops, the brain is curled into the heart here. And so basically our head stands up from the heart. It's to me the most beautiful image. So you can think of letting your head stand up from the heart, and you can feel that heart center standing up from the pelvic bowl. And if you're standing from the feet there, so everything is standing one on top of the next. So from here, just to give your shoulders a rest, you can bring the elbows together and exhale, drop the elbows down, drop the chin and let the back round just a little bit. I'm going to breathe into the back of the body here for just a moment. So this closing and rounding of the body quiets your nervous system. You want to exhale slow and long and deep and slow the breath down. Great. Okay, after an exhale, as you inhale, you're going to circle. You don't have to circle too much. It's just the idea of opening the chest, opening. Your arms can go wherever they need to go. Just opening the chest, letting the chest rise. Inhale here into the top of the lungs, under the collarbones. You can put your hands in your lap or anywhere comfortable and just breathe into the upper lungs here. And then as you exhale again, folding, bringing the elbows together and rounding, drop the head. And again, breathing into the back of the lungs. So the back of the lungs go all the way down to the bottom of your ribs. So see if you can let the ribs relax and that space expand. So here we're calming the nervous system. And when you're ready to inhale, go ahead and open. You can circle, let the chest expand. You can place your hands down comfortably. And now you're breathing into the upper lung at the front, under the collarbones. So this opening of the body activates the nervous system. So if you're ever feeling depressed or tired, this is a way to open it. And exhale, round once again, just folding. And if you ever feel stressed or your mind's bouncing in too many directions, you can close. And then inhale and come on back upright. Okay, so that's just a really simple, basic introduction to that relationship of the breath and the body. In the practices I do, which are movement practices, we use movement to help move the breath and move the energy, move the blood, move the lymph in the body. It's great for the digestion. But the idea of breathing all the way into the back of the lungs, all the way, you can touch your own lower, just bring your hands to your ribs and walk your way down and around all the way to the back. Okay, you feel how low those go? Like that's okay. Now here, round forward a little bit, keep your hands there and see if you can expand that part. That's the back bottom of your lungs, the lower lobe. And then come on back up. Okay, and then take one hand under the armpit, and you can bring the thumb up a little bit under the, so it's coming kind of hugging here. And you can just bring this arm up a little bit. And then from here, just lengthen this side. So you're pushing, just that plant idea, pushing down into the sit bone and lengthening through the elbow. Okay, and then slide this hand down to the side rib here. And bring your breath into this part of the rib. Okay, that's your middle lobe. We don't actually have one on your left side because your heart is nested in that space. So your heart is being massaged by every breath you take. On an exhale, slide that down. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then I promise we'll stop. I know I'm taking time. So just starting first here, just feeling, so the lungs go way up and then push down through the sit bone, lengthen the elbow. You can arc a little bit, and then you're imagining to breathe into that lung or the rib cage or the armpit, whatever helps you the most. And don't assume you know how much air your lung can take. Put it in question. How slow, how deep, how long can I take to fill this lung? Okay, there's 70% of the lungs we don't usually use. Find it. It's so fun. And then exhale and release. Okay, and then I think we're just bring the hands together. This left and right side, feeling the midline here. Find your plumb line once again. So you're softening the front of the ribs just a bit as you open the front of the shoulders. The crown of the head growing from the sit bones like a plant. And that which is highest in me bows to that which is highest in you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Anne. You just made me forget time, and probably the rest of the group feels in a similar way. This has been really beautiful. What I love about exercises like this is that it actually is an empowering state where we don't become victim to our external circumstances, not even to our emotions, where we have tools where we don't need a therapist, acupuncturist, or massage therapist, and we still do need them, but which gives us a certain amount of control, which goes far beyond the mind. And it took me a while to actually really understand the need, but since a few years, I really swear by all kinds of practices like Qigong or breath work. I've totally slowed down now, but we would like to give you all the opportunity of asking some questions to Anne and Carolin for the next 10 minutes. And this is your moment to squeeze out this vast amount of knowledge, which is heart, mind, body centered. Please just start, whoever wants to. This is a safe circle, and all questions are welcome.
Yeah, I would like to add that it's so important that now we think these two concepts together. And what would be the first question from my side is for Carolin: is there the freedom to feel in this new work? is because I always wonder if really try to feel the body within the work environment and to really change the world. How do you think of in your structures?
There's always something missing because still it's a simulation, you know, to be honestly true. It's different to feel like Anne says, another person. There's a vibration, there's electricity, life, which is not there. And I'm very, and I would love to talk to you anyway, because I also studied movement, besides tons of other things. And I've been in my 20s and 30s also an experimental dancer, a movement dancer. And I'm a singer. So what you are just saying, I've been giving workshops on presentation and breath technique actually for my team for a while, to say, you know, relax and do things, you know, relax your face, touch your body, feel your body. In general, we are not touching ourselves anymore. You know, there is something you need, you get some fluid soap, and you don't even have the soap which you have to use with your hands on, and you don't rub your body. You know, you need to feel yourself, your feet. And I'm very thankful for this. I didn't know this actually. And my most favorite exercise is the one with the hands on your back, which is my basic speech exercise for everybody. And I always said it's a cleaning lady exercise. Because when you're cleaning, a lot of times you have to go down. So you go down, you know, but you put your hands on your back and then you feel it and you go up and you feel your breath. And after a while, when you're doing this, you feel the strength. So I think it's very important. And we sort of like have check-ins and how are we and how are we doing? Do we need a minute? What can we change? Now it's too much. It's fine, you know, and same in terms of sickness. I mean, sometimes we're working on projects and as we're not that many, if somebody is sick, the person is sick and we don't tell anybody, oh, we need this done. We always say, take your time, do anything, you know, just get well. And we think this is very, very, very important. So let's face it, it's a virtual thing. And let's face it, the more it's virtual, the more we actually have to be aware of what we are. And we are still material, you know.
Yes. Trust is often also a choice. And at the same time, it's about finding that right sweet spot between trusting and also being good in our boundaries in our own space. Such inspiration. I think, I don't know how you are doing, but my head is buzzing with ideas and thoughts and feelings. We will take you through our wish process, which means we start, so now it's 10 past. We start with around 10, 12 minutes per point of first looking at a vision. So what could be a vision of the world of work through the feminine value and embodiment lens? It's just about getting that process started, because that the same applies to self-development. In order to have the kinds of outcomes we desire, we need to have a bigger vision. It's not just enough to say, we don't want burnout culture. It's important to have that. I want this workplace where I feel I can still be a mom, and where I feel validated, where I feel, so kind of going into that vision of what that will look like, and then intuiting what that will feel like. And for that, Anna has, again, prepared some beautiful slides. Rebecca, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to build that tribe, that, or we call it that ring, where we find more and more like-minded people powering these ideas we actually all secretly hope will be implemented. And this way we want to create some momentum.
Yeah, and you're the pioneers, because we're just setting it up, and we will set up different communities on different topics, and it will be nice and well functioning in a few weeks or months.
I would like to add to what you just said, the word hope. I feel hopeful every time I get in contact with other people who obviously strive for the same and hope for the same and wish for the same. That gives me hope, because sometimes you feel very alone and you feel like, okay, everyone out there just feels totally fine with how we are living and what our life has become. And it's just good to see that people out there want and strive for something else.
Yes, we are the people we surround ourselves with, and this is why it's also so important to make conscious choices. I am who I am because I've been working with Anna for that long, or because I've known Carola Kamp since I was born, or Abi and all of you. It just creates a stronger foundation in us. And so I also always find it beautiful when people like us come together, and we just all chose to do this moment. We could have been Netflixing or doing anything else, but we chose to give our precious time to a vision. And that's beautiful. That's actually what powers our work. So we plan to do at least one Ring of Alchemist per month, but right now we're also discussing to do a female value-oriented Ring of Alchemist as well. And we are creating also podcast material around all these kinds of subjects that in reality really excite us, and if we just want to know more about, and we just love to exchange with these different experts. And also we need people like you believing in this idea and putting skin in the game, for instance, now with your precious time, and also looking out for these experts, or making an e-learning or a mini course yourself. So Abhinav, who joined in from his office, hence his screen is off, is our guy for the academy. And so if you have some e-learning ideas, he's the perfect person to brainstorm on. And so don't hesitate if it's still not completely formed idea. We are there to handhold you all the way, co-create it with you, and maybe also pair you with another expert. Abhinav, could you put your email address into the chat, please?
Yeah, we're thinking of formats also for this matching and
create serendipity.
Yeah.
We will send a recap of this event, and also a video with the first part, so not the ring part right now where we've been exchanging, but so you can also look at the slides again. Anna we will send them around as well. So you have all these precious elements we all co-created through the wish process. And I forgot to say in the beginning, the reason why we are calling this the Ring of Alchemist is that we look at the base of lead metals, which are the status quo of our society, all the potential that all there is but hasn't come together yet, and try to transform that into gold. And so we are just very excited about alchemy, and we also have our personal alchemist here, Abhinav, who is also creating an e-learning around these ideas, and who actually got us excited about that subject. So please stay in touch, get back to us with ideas, feedback, and also if you feel like collaborating with us, supporting us, we are just a bunch of experts who saw that this is still missing in the world and just trying to wish it with thee. And we need people like you wishing it with us. And yeah, we're looking forward to staying in touch and keeping the link.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We will share it on all different channels, and we're happy if you share it too. And you may also write your contact in the chat if you want to connect with someone, or ask someone of us to connect. Okay, now we keep the time. It's 8:02, and we say good night. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much you were here with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, this was wonderful.